Hey, what's up? Cody here. You ever thought about the difference between something that would be really neat to have versus if it's a need that you actually have? I think we confuse that a lot of times, and Proverbs chapter 1 kind of targets that concept and that idea. It starts off by saying that you need wisdom, that above all things that you could get, that the knowledge of God is the highest thing that we could attain to, and that wisdom from Him is what guides and directs our lives. We spend so much time and effort and energy running around trying to figure out things and what's the right way, what's the best decision, what should I do in this situation, when a lot of times God has already told us how we should act, what we should do, and the way it should be. That a lot of these decisions would be very simply and easily made if we would only submit ourselves to His way. And so Proverbs 1 talks about this idea. Verse 7 actually says this: "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." It's contrasting this concept of foolishness and wisdom. And you see this contrast played out over and over and over again in the book of Proverbs. And right here from the beginning, it's setting the tone for the difference. The difference is that foolishness is your own way, wisdom is God's way. Foolishness is to say, I'm smart enough to take this on myself. I know the right answer. I know the right way. I don't need God. Essentially, that was the problem that Adam and Eve had in the Garden of Eden. They chose their own way. Eating fruit wasn't the sin. It was choosing my way, and that I'm smart enough, I'm wise enough. I don't need God to direct my life. I don't need Him in charge of anything for me. I need to be in charge of me. I'm in control. I'm the captain of my destiny. Well, this is exactly the opposite of what God designed our lives to be like, and what the purpose of life is all about. And if we get this wrong, then we spend our lives chasing down a bunch of things that end up being empty and worthless. Well, here we find ourselves right in the beginning of, it's December 1st. It's the beginning of that Christmas season. And if there's anything that is gripping the heart of America, it's covetousness. That there's a bunch of stuff that I need in order to be satisfied. And so one of the things that Proverbs 1 does is right after introducing this concept of wisdom and foolishness, the first thing that God targets, the first thing that He goes after is covetousness and contentment. I think it's interesting. This first section, verses 8 through 19, is all about that. And when you read through it, it kind of seems to be a little bit disconnected from my life, because it starts talking about things like, well, am I really going to lie in wait to murder somebody? Most of us would probably say, no, that's not really where I'm at. But have we done such a thing maybe in a different way, or in a more I guess socially acceptable way that I am willing to take from somebody else? That's the heart and the attitude. It says this in verse 13. It says, this is these people talking about this concept. It says, "We shall find all kinds of precious possessions, and we shall fill our house with spoil." What it's saying there is that we're going to wait to take from them what we need. And the concept there is saying that I have this attitude and heart that says I'm going to satisfy myself with their things, that I'm going to take from them in order to give to me. And I think that is something that we can identify with in a lot of ways. That this is something that is constantly on our hearts and on our minds. That they have it, I want it, and so I'm going to take it from them. It's really at the heart of humanity. And so one of the things that God does in this is He challenges us with this concept by saying, is your heart filled with that kind of covetousness that you want to take from somebody else? Or are you willing to be content? Because the way this section ends, Proverbs 1, 8 through 19, verses 18 and 19 says this: "But they lie in wait for their own blood. They lurk secretly for their own lives. So are the ways of everyone who is greedy for gain. It takes away the life of its owners." Are you so wrapped up with getting stuff and getting your things and even willing to take it from somebody else that you think you're gaining, but God says, nope, you're not gaining anything. You're actually taking your own life in the process? What's it going to cost? Are you willing to be content? Are you willing to say that God has provided all of my needs and He will continue to do so? Or are you going to say, I need all this other stuff too? Sadly, we get so wrapped up with needing so many other things that we forget the difference between what's neat and what's needful. It's not bad to have stuff, but it's really terrible when stuff has you. So I want to challenge you with that thought today. Are you willing to have an attitude of contentment? And if you are, then it'll make the blessings that you receive around Christmas time something to be thankful for, instead of being like a spoiled brat child who can't be thankful for what they have because they're so wrapped up in what they don't have. So let me ask you that. Are you willing to be thankful to God for what He's given you, or are you so wrapped up in what you think you don't have that you can't be content?